G'day, my name is Ben Pike and I'm from Business New South Wales, and I'm here with the Assistant Treasurer and Minister for Finance, Stephen Jones. Stephen, welcome.
Good to be with you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. Now, we've just launched our Insurance at the Speed of Business report, which you have given a keynote speaker. Thank you so much for that. We just wanted to get your view. What do you think are the most important parts of the report? Like, what is it that businesses need to know?
First off, congratulations, good report. I've had a good read of it. The stuff that stood out to me was, I guess, these graphs, which are showing insurance costs for your members steadily on the increase. And I've got to say, this is something that I've observed across the country and indeed around the world. Whether it's hazard-related insurance or whether it's public liability and associated insurance or professional insurance, costs are going up around the world, and we've got to be putting in place strategies that can work with business and insurers to try and minimise those costs.
Sure. Now, being a Wollongong boy, obviously you know the area inside out. Have there been any issues that you've noticed with your local high streets, local businesses, when it comes to insurance?
Well, the big issue in my area is flood and related insurance. A lot of the Illawarra, particularly the area that I represent, whether it's down around the floodplains around Dapto, name speaks for itself, or up in the Highlands, also a bunch of flood affected areas. The cost of getting storm and flood cover has significantly increased if it's even available. And in the business lines, public liability and professional indemnity insurance, businesses talk to me about the pressures of meeting their costs. And I wasn't surprised, I've got to say, when you did your survey, that insurance costs have jumped to number one in terms of members' concerns.
Completely. Now, is there a silver bullet here, Minister?
The thing I want to say, everyone wants the government to be able to wave a magic wand, and I'm just going to speak frankly and say there isn't a magic wand. That's not an excuse for doing nothing. There's a few things that we can do, but the most effective solutions don't kick the can down the road. They work with all three tiers of government, local, state and federal, and business, to mitigate and reduce the risk that insurance is attempting to process. When you think about insurance, is a pretty simple product. It gets a class of risk, it bundles it up, tries to assess what the cost of that risk is, the cost of replacement, the cost of the liability, and then sells it out with a margin. We can try and subsidise on one hand or reduce liability on another, or we can try and deal with the underlying risk. And the analogy that I try to use, when people go and try and insure their homes, they know that if they have locks and bars on their windows, they get a reduction in their home and content insurance. What's the equivalent of having locks and bars on your windows for either your business or your house, which is going to reduce the risks? And that's what I want to work with industry and the insurance business to work out what the agreed list of things are that we can do to reduce risks and help business get an even break.
And have you noticed anything on your travels overseas that we could import in Australia that could benefit business?
The first thing I'd say is around the world, everyone's experiencing a significant thing. A lot of this is being driven by severe weather events, and that's led the global reinsurers. They're the people who insure the insurance companies, and about a third of the price that you're paying for your insurance contract is a reinsurance cost. So had a good long set of sessions with them up in the UK about a month ago. They still want to do business down here in Australia, but they're looking very closely at the things we're doing to reduce risk. Stop doing dumb things. Stop building the wrong buildings in the wrong places, particularly floodplains. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Stop doing that,
Yeah.
and then start looking at how we can retrofit existing buildings. So that's a big one. There's a discussion globally around tort law reform. And obviously that involves state governments because they are responsible for tort law. But these are things, none of these things we should shy away from. The best stuff that I've seen overseas is where there's a multi-pronged approach to dealing with law reform, risk mitigation, and and some of those pricing issues as well, having strategies which deal with all of those things together.
Got it. Now, with the event that we just attended, which you obviously gave the keynote speaker, one of the big pieces of advice that was given to business was really look at your insurer closely, because sometimes you can be going through 2 and 3 brokers before you actually finally get your insurance product, which is a huge revelation because that could reduce the cost significantly. Just lastly, Minister, would there be anything else you would advise business to do in the current environment?
Always get 2 quotes. Ensure that you have a close look at what it is that you're being insured for, and that you've got the appropriate level of cover for your business. And put the pressure on your broker to ensure that they are getting the absolute best deal for you, not just the rollover of the deal you had last year. And the example you used of having 2 or 3 brokers for the one bundled contract, that's something you want to get sorted out as well. And finally, speak up when you feel like you are taking things which are reducing risks but aren't being reflected in your insurance policy, because they're things that we should be pushing back on as well.
Minister, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
Yes.